In this election, we have a chance to change the course of history. We're all in this fight. You, me, and Joe, together. What an awesome responsibility. What an awesome privilege. So let's fight with conviction. Let's fight with hope. Let's fight with confidence in ourselves and a commitment to each other, to the America we know is possible, the America we love. And years from now, this moment will have passed, and our children and our grandchildren will look in our eyes, and they're going to ask us, where were you when the stakes were so high? They will ask us, what was it like? And we will tell them. We will tell them not just how we felt, we will tell them what we did. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.
It's that real.
You're gonna want that.
It's that real. Yo.
You're gonna need
Yo.
it. You're gonna want that.
That real.
You better stop and think about what you're doing. You better stop and think about what you're doing. You better stop.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. This is actually the second discussion that we did today on Think Tank 309. Initially, our first discussion was about entanglements, and we had a really good discussion. But we had some historic news this week, so I definitely wanted to talk about it, which was Joe Biden's selection of Senator Kamala Harris. Kamala, pardon me, as the vice president selection or vice president nominee to be his running mate. Just want to go around the room. Becky, we'll start with you. What is your initial response to Joe picking Kamala as VP?
Nothing but love. And you know that I travel in some very, very, very liberal circles, and I am 100% not here for the butthurtedness of she's too conservative and, you know, she's not this enough, she's not that enough. I'm speaking specifically of Bernie people. But I took 2016 hard. I almost quit writing over it because Hillary lost. I took Elizabeth Warren not being successful against Joe Biden pretty hard, right? Because like, when is it ever going to be a woman? Well, look, facts are facts. Joe Biden could possibly die during his first term, and then she is president. She can do the job. Nothing but love for it. There were other contenders that were good, but I don't think anyone brings the whole package to his ticket the way that she does. The law and order experience, the multiracial, the youth. You know, I don't understand this thing where people think you can be an attorney general and never put anyone in jail. So I'm also not doing that either. So nothing but love for Kamala Harris. It's my Facebook profile photo now. I thought they looked cool together when they stood out to Curtis Mayfield. I'm here for it. I am here for it.
I think that's your musical bump into this episode is playing the Curtis Mayfield. I think you're gonna have to do that first of all. That part. Kamala Harris, I think, was if not the obvious choice. I'm quite happy with the choice. I think her resume is incredible and impeccable. And if a if an election is really like a job interview, and then we're voting on something, if we're looking at the resume of Kamala Harris, I don't know how you not look at that resume and say, okay, I don't know how you don't call her liberal enough. She was born in Oakland and grew up around Berkeley. So what 2020 calls liberal, they call Tuesday. You know, that's kind of the birthplace of what liberal, you know, what it wants to be. She does have a multicultural background. She attended HBCU, and then she went on to get a graduate degree, a terminal degree in law in California. She's won statewide elections in California, which is almost a perfect microcosm of the United States, because Southern California to the coast, to the Northern California, into Desert California, it's all kinds of different people and backgrounds and thoughts and ideas, and yet she won statewide election there twice. I think she's just, I don't understand any of, I mean, I understand it. I can't pragmatically understand. It doesn't make sense any of the attacks toward her, because her resume and what she has is the best thing I've probably seen on paper in a really long time from anybody who's running for office.
And not this time. There is a fool killing America in the White
Oh,
House.
that's beside the point.
That's the other part. All these crazy people. I'm like, so what you gonna do then? You're not gonna vote for her? Like, you're not gonna vote for that ticket then? Yeah.
Joe Biden, I saw a tweet, somebody said he could have picked Evita as his vice presidential candidate. I would have taken it. And I thought about it and said, that's hilarious, but it's true. I still would have voted for him.
Right, like if it was Vice President Cardi B, I'd at least give it
I would give it a shot.
I'd give it a shot. You know, what the hell do I have to lose?
Right.
Cardi B
At
is
this
Vice
point,
President.
really.
I'm sorry. Anyone else want to jump in? Go ahead.
Oh, well, I'm definitely excited about Kamala Harris being the VP nomination. She was my first pick for him. I had Kamala Harris, Elizabeth Warren, and Val Demings were my top three. And so I was very happy that he picked Kamala Harris. I'm also happy because as a Black woman, as a woman from a diverse background, as a Black woman from Appalachia, I actually feel a little bit represented. I usually never feel, even when Barack Obama was in office, you know, he is a Black man. I'm sure that you all felt fairly represented. But me as a Black woman, I still did not feel represented. And I also get the same issues that Kamala is facing now, that, you know, you're not Black enough, or what defines Black in America. Me being, you know, a Black woman from a multicultural family from a small town that's considered Appalachia in Ohio. When I first came to the city, I was riddled with all kinds of questions. I was bullied. I was treated different because, you know, people said I looked different. People said I spoke different, I dressed different. You know, people would constantly ask me, well, what are you? Where are you from? Oh, are there Black people there? You know, where's that? So I kind of understand the scrutiny that she's under, and it's on like a much bigger level, of course. But I'm also very excited because, like I said, for the first time, I feel like I'm a little bit represented. As a Black woman from Appalachia, we're never actually represented. There's no one that speaks for Black people in Appalachia. I tell this to people all the time when they're talking about not voting, or they're going to vote, or they're going to write in Bernie or pick Kanye, because no one is really representing them. No one is really talking to their needs. I said, how do you think Black people in Appalachia feel? Nobody ever talks to our needs. Nobody ever speaks to our needs. It's like we don't exist. We're in West Virginia. We're in Virginia. We're in Ohio. You know, we're in the states in New York. We're all up and down the coast, wherever the Appalachian foothills are. That's where we are, and we live there, and we are never discussed or talked about in any type of way. Very seldom are even coal miners and, you know, workers that are in those areas discussed in general, less alone the Black people that also do that same type of work and that also live in those areas. So, you know, I kind of digressed a bit into my Black Appalachia cause, but at the same time, looking at Kamala's background, looking at her humble beginnings, looking at the diversity of her background, and her being a woman. Like I said, it is the first time I'm actually a little bit hopeful and feel like maybe I will get some representation. So I'm very glad to see her on board with Joe Biden. And I think they make a great duo. I think that they will get some things done. Wherever Joe lacks, I think Kamala will be able to pick up the slack and handle things. And I think that she will kind of reel him in as well. She was able to do that on the debate stage, running for president. So I definitely think he picked a great person to be by his side and try to move the country forward. And as I tell people all the time, if you don't want to vote, you know, you're giving that vote to Trump. The main thing is to get Trump out of office so we can move this country forward, so we can get out of this freaking pandemic. If you don't care about anything else, let's get out of this pandemic. Let's make sure that we're safe. Let's make sure that our children are safe. And I think that they will do that. I think that they have enough empathy to at least work on some of the issues that are important to most working people, like education, healthcare, student loan debt, you know, just basic infrastructure needs. Democrats are not the be-all, end-all for anyone, of course. Republicans definitely are not. They don't care about most social issues. But I think at least if you get some Democrats in there, that they will tackle some of the issues that need to be addressed, whether it's healthcare or minimum wage or, like I said, education. You know, I have family members that are on disability, family members that are on Social Security, younger cousins in, you know, public schools. I have people in my family that are in need of decent healthcare, living wages. So no, the Democrats are not going to do everything, but at least I think they'll do something. And I really think they'll help get us out of this pandemic, which would help a lot with everything, right? So I'm all for Team Biden, Team Harris, and I hope they can pull it through. And I hope that the Caribbean folks will get out there and vote. For all of us Black folks and other Bernie supporters and things that are like, she's not Black, or I want Bernie, or I'm not going to vote. I just hope that Central Jersey comes through. And I hope that all the Caribbean folks come through. I hope all the people with good sense come through. And if you've never been to Central Jersey, it's full of, you know, Southeast Asian folks, like they run that. So I'm hoping that they all come through. I'm hoping that, you know, Kamala brings a good, diverse group of people to come out for her to make up for the folks who have just decided they don't want to participate in this election.
Dr. Benton.
You really want? All I have to say is I'm definitely far left of the Democratic ticket and have been. So it almost didn't matter. It still you know, it didn't matter to me. Kamala Harris was I think the obvious choice. I think she was the probably the best choice he could have made. Probably I think I was a little bit, I think the only thing I had trouble with was how much time it took to get there. But part of it felt like to me was this vetting process, like sort of a public vetting process. So let's see what happens if we leak little bits and pieces about the alternatives and see what happens. But yeah, I mean,
it sounds like maybe she wasn't your first choice. Who was your first choice of the people who was out there? Your personal
for VP.
For VP.
So I guess what I'm trying to say is I had no choice for VP because I couldn't imagine. First of all, I imagined that it would be her from the beginning, but I couldn't imagine a better alternative given the kinds of constraints that Biden has as the personal problems that Biden has as a candidate. Right. Because he has never been anyone's favorite candidate any of the times he's ever run. So whoever he picks as his VP has to complement. And basically, I mean, I'll just be honest, had to be kind of a female version of Obama to kind of pull off whatever that was.
And his success, and I don't mean to interrupt you, excuse me, but his success with Obama was Obama's success. His success as the president made Biden's success as the vice president.
Right.
You know, I mean, maybe that's simple.
No, it's true. Like I kept going because they kept saying that this, in the back fantasy, he could have actually nominated Obama. He could have just been like, why don't we? But he can't, right? He can't.
Right.
He could, but he can't. But so he had to get kind of the next best thing, it wasn't going to be Susan Rice, right? She's like a little too openly hawkish.
Right. That was my thing, and I don't know a lot about her, but from what I've heard, her clapback game is strong. Is strong. And maybe that's not right. And maybe that's not what you want in that position, or maybe not as much of that. You know what I mean?
I would say
scorched earth. She scorched earth
Right.
that game. It's not we're gonna go back and forth. It's I'm gonna drop this bomb and it's over with, and you no longer finish him. You no longer exist. Next.
Right.
And you don't want people. I mean, you can see the shortcomings of that approach in local elections, for example.
Because we can be honest, Biden's made some missteps, and right. And the thing is, because who he's running up against, maybe the missteps don't seem as kind of glaring. But if he was running against anyone with any more sense, some of the things he said, like the black people aren't diverse like the Latino, like that's not a good thing to say. For Joe Biden, a white man, to get on TV and tell black people who is and isn't black, like that's not the right thing to say.
It's not right for anybody. It's dumb.
Right. If I said, well, Kevin Smith gets to decide who's black and who's not, y'all can all say, Kevin, you're tripping right now. You know what I mean? Like that's not for you to determine. Are you black or are you not? Is based on, whatever. Maybe I'm getting off topic, but I guess
with this, he never has to address those issues anymore. He now they can steer him clear of any positions where he might say something stupid, because that when that comes up as a talking point, give it to Kamala. We're gonna talk about that, give it to Kamala. We're gonna talk about women, give it to Kamala. We're gonna talk about Asian men, give it to Kamala. We're gonna talk about black people, give it to Kamala. You don't touch any of that anymore.
Right.
Your job is to smile and wave and say, "Remember, I was Obama's vice president."
Or
that's your whole.
Or the other stuff. I took care of my kids when my wife, like when my wife died. I did his story is like.
His story is bullshit. He's got a great story and he's got a great narrative, but he makes it harder on himself.
Yeah.
He makes it harder on himself. Just stay right here. And the thing is now, and I'm giving my opinion, but now Kamala can do the Breakfast Club interview. Now she can be on Hot 97. Now she can be on Jesus and Nero. And the thing I'll say about Kamala Harris, she's sharp when it comes to interviews and debates. That's her strength. And maybe that's not Biden's strength. So
someone told him he can ad-lib like 30 years ago. Someone said, "Oh, you're good at ad-libbing," and he
never
took
stopped.
that seriously. He stopped. He hasn't
Never
stopped.
stopped.
He just goes, and you're like, "Stop!" Just because that stuff that he said, the black, aren't as some people, they don't know that, right? When he said that, that was just a brain dump. That was not.
But that shows that in some ways Biden is still very kind of antiquated in his thinking. And maybe it's not because he's a bad person. I don't think Biden's a bad person. I do think he's an older white person, and one of the consequences of being older and white and insulated from a lot of things is you don't know a lot of things about a lot of things. You know what I mean? So I guess the question that I was thinking, and we've already kind of started, is now that Kamala is the VP, is the running mate, how best can she support, or how best can she assist Joe Biden as he runs for president? Like, what does she bring to the table to help the cause?
She handles all the women questions. She handles all the people of color questions. She handles all the law and order stuff. That's where she sits. That's her. she's capable of doing more than that, but she's had missteps along the way too. But she stays in those 3 buckets and let him again handle his story. My son, who was in the military, who came back and died. My father, who was from Scranton, Pennsylvania, and who worked real hard, had to lead a family to work. Me taking the Amtrak every night to go see my family.
Right.
He stays with that great American working class story. She handles the whole immigrant, women, people of color, and the law and order stuff. And they both try to steer as far away as they can from foreign politics in that part and foreign diplomacy, because I don't think either one of them has a strong point in that.
Biden can claim it on the solely on the vice presidential.
Yeah, he can claim it. Yeah, but I don't want him talking deep about it because he's gonna go off rails again. So I just.
But then again, Demetrius, who's he talking to? Who's he talking against? I mean, he's not talking against some great political brain trust. He's talking about 45. Like
But
anything.
also, I think you have to be very careful because Trump don't play fair. The Republicans are not playing fair. They haven't played fair since the very beginning. And I think what the Democrats do wrong each time is that they do not fight and they do not sling mud and they try to play everything by the book. And when you're playing with someone who does not play by the book and who will pull out every single stop, sometimes you got to throw those punches back. So I expect for Kamala, because she can sling mud and she can get aggressive and she can bring it with facts. That's the thing I liked about Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren had spirit, she had heart, she would come at your throat, but she came with facts that you could not rebuttal. And if Kamala and or Biden stick to that, where they don't take no L's, like when the punches start coming from Pence or Trump or whoever, they come with straight facts and they come aggressive and they come hard. They do not let up. You got to go like Nas on Ether. You got to keep hitting the soft spots. You got to keep punching, keep hitting, because they will take you down by playing dirty, by slinging mud, and by taking you off subject. They will switch it around and make things difficult for you to come back into your full circle of what you're even talking about. So I've seen this when he went against Hillary. I've seen it when he's doing interviews as far as Trump, that the Democrats all together, I think they've done a very bad job with this pandemic. I think they've done a very bad job trying to work with the other side. And I think they really need to get together. They need a war room. And I'm serious. They need a war room because this is not going to be an easy fight. It's not going to be, oh, well, somebody's so intelligent or somebody has so many degrees. They don't care. Trump's supporters don't care. They call into radio shows every day on Sirius and say how they do not care about what facts you're throwing at them, about what he has or has not done, that they will still support him. So we can be all happy about whoever. It could have been Bernie and AOC. It could have been whoever. The fact is the Democrats need to fight. They need to fight hard. They need to come with facts. They need to hit him with everything that he has done illegal and wrong, the mishandling of this pandemic. They need to throw all of that at him. Like I said, Nas, Ether. If they don't come with that, we may not win and we may be here another 4 years still in a pandemic.
I agree. I think that's why I have to stay with those things they have the facts on. Don't let the other side push the narrative to areas where you can't hit them hard. Right. Anything that's questionable, stay away from it.
Yeah. Anywhere where you're soft, don't stay away from it. Just altogether.
Just stay with you. So you don't want to go into foreign policy because then this was timed almost perfectly. The United States just signed diplomatic relations with the United Arab Emirates. That's huge. Now we'll have a area in the UAE, and it will allow for commercial flights to actually take place between some open areas of the Middle East and somewhere like Israel, and somewhere like the U.S. So it was perfectly time to come out now, because again, if there's anywhere that Biden-Harris ticket is soft, it will be foreign relations. If you choose to engage in that topic with the Republicans, you might win, you might lose. If it's a 50-50, I don't want to play. Let's stay in areas I know I can win. We'll talk law and order. I can win that. Want to talk pandemic? I can win that. You want to talk the things that we're strong in? I can win that. I'm not going to talk economy with them because as messed up as things are, Trump has pushed the narrative that he's the one who's made the economy well. So I'm not even going there because that's a 50-50 battle. No, I agree. We're not playing fair. The way we're not going to play fair is we're not going to let you control the narrative of what the argument's going to be. We're going to talk about the things we're strong with, and that's all we're going to talk about. So when the question comes, well, how do you guys think about the economy? Then Kamala's answer is, well, I think it's important that we are diverse. We have a diverse and inclusive that includes women and people of color in the economy. So we're not even talking about, we're going to stick to what works. And how the women say, yes, women need to be part of. People of color, yes, we need to be a part of. But you haven't talked about the economy. I know, and I don't plan on it. We're going to talk about these things, and we're going to hit you on these things for the next 3 months. And the reason for the delay was that I don't think he wanted to lose the momentum if he had announced it way early, and then by the time you got to hear, because you don't have a convention per se that's going to rebuild that momentum. So the momentum move was announcing her as the vice presidential candidate later because we're not in September yet. We got to get to November. So we got to keep that steam and then through all of that. So I had a problem with waiting too, but I understood why. The wait was to continue to build that anticipation and drop it as close as you could to, carry as much momentum as you could toward November.
Now, we've used the Nas ether kind of analogy a couple times.
I think Dr. Ben's.
I'm sorry, Dr. Ben. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I apologize.
I was saying I have to go. My kids.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dr. Ben. Well, we appreciate you being on. If you just want to drop off, you can feel free. But thank you so much for doing it.
It was fun. Thank you.
Oh, no, you're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, cool. So, no, what I was saying is we've used the hip hop Nas ether analogy. I'm gonna throw another analogy, and that's the Z Renegade analogy, and I think we all know what that means. My question is Kamala more impressive than Joe on paper? Like on paper, does Kamala present a more impressive candidate or more impressive package than Joe?
Can I hurt feelings? On paper, her resume was stronger than Barack Obama's was.
Right,
He won
that
the
was my
presidency.
question.
I love President Obama. I love his wife, his children. But on paper, if I'm just looking at the resume of Barack Obama pre-president and Kamala Harris now, her resume is actually stronger. Mm-hmm. She's won 2 statewide elections in a hugely diverse state.
Right.
And has sat on committees in the Senate to see things, has fought for things, has had her name on bills passed through the Senate.
Yeah.
So on paper, yeah, is she more impressive than Mr. Biden? Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah, I would have to totally agree. I think so as well. And not only that, she brings like a full package, with her, because like it or not, people like how people look, they're all about, how do you look, how do you speak, how do you dress, how do you present yourself. That's a big part of being president. Unfortunately, I don't know how 45 got elected, but in the past, that has been a big thing.
Who did he run against? He didn't have a competitor that pushed him on that.
Yeah. So, but in past, they have done studies and said that, how polished a person is, how they speak, how they present themselves, if they're attractive, that those also matter when you're looking at presidential candidates or candidates in general running in politics.
And the thing is, Barack was polished. Kamala is polished. And even smart. Someone like, it's super smart. Like, I'm not that's not to say that she's not,
Mm-hmm.
intellectual powerhouse.
Oh,
But
no,
even someone like
they have it's a package,
right, but like Cory Booker is almost too like that's why
He's
I
corny.
say he's like Varnell
He's corny.
Hill. He's like
He's corny
Varnell Hill.
Booker.
Right. Corny Booker. I'm sorry.
Corny
He
Booker.
needs to loosen up. And that's the thing. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, I was gonna say about your
Okay.
point about looking good though, and then that's important. During the first presidential election when Barack Obama ran the first time, he in the middle of the campaigning, he took a brief respite to Hawaii with his kids. And then the shot that made every newspaper was Barack Obama with his shirt off coming up out the water.
Mm-hmm.
I saw that shot in the newspaper and I turned and I said, he just won the election, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so what do you mean? I said, trust me, he just won the election because when you go in that election booth and no one's in there watching, trust me, that shot of him coming out, he looked better than I do coming out the water. And he's a lawyer, and he's smooth and polished, and he got all that, and he came out the water looking like a Hawaiian.
James Bond.
Yeah, I can run your country. Yeah,
And he's
I was
skinny
like,
and he
done.
fits in them suits well. Them
It's
suits.
done. It was
hang
over.
off. I mean,
I
it's done.
literally turned to people and said the election is over, and they thought I was crazy, and I said no. And there's a reason why that picture was in every newspaper. There's a reason why the photographer who took that picture wound up being the personal photographer for the Obamas for the 8 years that they were in office. That picture, so that's be sure you're right. How you look matters, and that was it. It's done.
Not to interrupt you, but I just wanted to say this. This was when Barack was running. Oh my goodness. It must have been when he ran the first time. I was living with Jessica and we were living together. And I worked nights, so I would always come home late. And she was like, Kevin, if you go to Dominic's, Dominic's was open back then. She was like, if you go to Dominic's, can you get me a copy of the Ebony magazine with Barack on the cover with him getting out the limo? I said, what? Yeah, it's an Ebony magazine. It's a picture, but it's Barack getting out of the limo with his sunglasses on.
Yes.
He looks like the coolest dude ever. I was like, all right, cool, I'll get it. Went to 2 Dominics, couldn't find it. But like, Kamala has a lot of that same energy that Barack had in 08.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
That's
my mother is an AKA. And she's been like, Kevin, I'm about to get active again. I said, she's like, yeah, Kamala running, so I'm going to get active. I'm like, all right, good. Like, she's going to bring, now I'm not saying she is Barack or she's as progressive as Barack or whatever, but some of that same celebrity star power in terms of political office, I think she has some of that same energy.
All
And
the
the thing-
AKs took over my timeline.
Okay.
After the announcement, it was done. My timeline was pink and green.
Right.
But the thing I was going to say is, a lot of people talk about Kamala Harris being phony or fake. And to me, it shows that people don't understand body language. I think it's not that she's phony or fake, is that she is holding back. She's holding back. And she's very aware that she doesn't want to make mistakes, or that she doesn't want to say the wrong thing, or that she doesn't want to seem like she's too, out of order or having too much fun. She's very self-controlled and very self-aware. And I think she's also a little bit inhibited a bit as well, because sometimes she will kind of fold into herself when she speaks, or when she laughs. She'll go like this or like that. And I think she doesn't want to, I think she's at such a high level, and she knows she's under such scrutiny as a Black woman, in that position, not just as VP, but, her current role in the Senate, that she doesn't want to make any mistakes. She doesn't want to have any missteps. So she's very calculated as to what she says, how she moves, how she works through interviews. And I don't think it's phony as much as it is her just holding back. Because if you catch her off guard on cameras or photos, or when she's dancing with people, she want to let loose. Right. Kamala wants to let loose and be free. She wants to be that free Black woman. You know what I mean? But
she doesn't want to
this-
have that "I've never been prouder of America than I am today" moment that
Yeah.
Michelle Obama had. That was, I knew what she meant.
Yeah.
We knew what she meant, but
Right.
boy, that went left quick.
So I
She
think
doesn't
she's
want to have
very,
a moment.
yeah, I think she's very careful and controlled more than it is I'm being phony or fake.
Right.
Because I've watched several interviews. I've watched her during the debates, and I'm like, that's not phony. That's her watching every word, every step she takes and makes.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's her being
She's very choreographed, like
Yeah.
completely choreographed.
Mhm.
She's a litigator.
Right,
She's not just an
but
attorney. She's a litigator.
but
She
I'll
used
be
to be-
honest. A lot of the AKAs I know are like that. They're very choreographed, and I'm saying
But-
that as the son of an AKA. So I'm not speaking out of school.
But that's part of her what made her good at her job. She's not just an attorney, she's an actual courtroom litigator. That's where her strength is. So her job is to convince you, is to present facts in a way that convinces you that she's right. In order to do that, you got to practice that. It has to be choreographed. There are body language rules to it. There are tricks to it. There are certain words you don't use, certain phrases that you don't say, certain
The
things
way
you
you
do.
move.
The way
Yeah,
you
the way
move,
you
your
move,
body.
yeah.
So she's been doing that for 20-something years. Again, she's not an attorney in name who sits in an office and knows how to write attorney speak. She's a courtroom litigator. So that's why when she's in debates, she's on stage, she's in interviews, she's so good at it because she's back in the courtroom.
And the
She's
thing
at
is,
home.
when
In the home court.
when they need someone to annihilate someone in some of these Senate subcommittees,
She got
they
it
put her on
because she does it.
because she does it. So, I mean, that vice presidential debate between her and Pence, she's gonna dissect Pence. The only way anyone could say Pence could win that is if they just don't want to see a black woman like that.
Well, the only
Those
way
are the-
only way he wins that is if she goes too hard.
Mhm.
The way that plays out is that there's a fine point where you hit him, but you don't stomp on him when he's down,
Right.
Mhm.
because then he's like,
Did she do that with Joe Biden? Did
Yes.
she go too hard
Yeah,
with Joe
yeah.
Biden?
She like she's beating up on an old man.
Yeah, and I
She
think
went
that's
too
the
hard
thing.
on Joe.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, is finding that right balance, right?
Yep.
Right.
Where you're not going too hard, but you're still hitting them where they need to get hit in those soft spots. You know what I mean? So I
Right.
think that's going to be the only issue with Kamala, is that sometimes I think she thinks she's still that, attorney general, district attorney person, where she's like going for the jugular. You know what I mean? And I think
Right.
she has to pull back a little bit. I don't want her to pull all the way back, because I love a person that just goes for it. You know, I'm all here for it. The Elizabeth Warrens and her.
No,
her and,
I'm with it too. I'm with it too.
You
But
know,
see,
but-
that's what Susan Rice would have been. Again, Susan
Yeah.
Rice, it had just been straight.
But it might have been almost too like.
Are you even allowed to be on the stage with you without your wife here? I thought you couldn't do that. Like that would have been the opening line of the debate, and it would have been like, oh, I wouldn't have had time to get my popcorn and watch it because it's been
Right.
done.
It'd have been must see, but I just think you need
It'd been a Tyson fight.
you need the carrot and the stick, and I think Susan Rice would have been 2 sticks with no carrot. You know
No
what I mean?
carrots. No carrots. And
So-
no caring about no carrots.
So, and I appreciate you guys staying late for this bonus session. If anyone has anything they want to add in terms of their comments about Kamala Harris as the vice presidential nominee with Joe Biden, definitely check us out on social media with the hashtag ThinkTank309. One last question to Demetrius and Michelle, who I have hanging out with the bonus conversation. It's just us, and all of us are African American. What do you think about people criticizing Kamala, saying, like, now I have not heard people say that she's not black enough. I have not seen a lot of that on my timeline, but maybe that's my timeline. Have you seen a lot of that, and what is your response to that?
That when she gets followed around the grocery store like I do, that when she gets pulled over, that when see people look at her, they don't look into, well, is your mother this and your father was he really Jamaican or was he East Tamil who moved to Jamaica? When they look at her, it's the Kanye line, if I can be so bold. Let's use that. Even in a caddy, you still a nigga in a coupe.
Mhm. Yeah, I totally agree. I have seen a lot of that in different posts on Facebook and Twitter, and I understand it because, as I mentioned when we first started, I have gotten those same questions. I have to basically, argue my blackness constantly because of where I'm from and what people presume I look like or how I speak or how I dress, things that I like. And it's just me. I always tell people Black folks are not monolithic. We are everywhere in this country, everywhere in the world even. We live different lives. We're on farms. We're in, hospitals. We're teachers. We're doctors. We're everything. We're in NASCAR. We're fishermen. We're everything, just like every other race. And we come from every place, just the same as other races as well. I'm from Appalachia. When I first came to the city, people were like, who are you? What are you? Why do you look like that? Why do you dress like that? Why do you speak like that? My country accent is gone because I've been in the city for so long, but every now and then it comes out. And you always get the, y'all from me. I'm always saying y'all.
Unless you go home. If you go home, it probably comes back about a week.
It's on and popping. I'm so country, but so I understand the scrutiny that she's going through because I have received it myself, but I've never understood it in terms of my own experience, and I don't understand it with her because, as Demetrius said, if she gets pulled over, if she's not Kamala Harris, and she gets pulled over or she's at a high-end store or restaurant, you still get treated differently. You will still be seen as a Black woman. She phenotypically looks like a Black woman, and we can go all into race as a social construct and all that, but for the purposes here and now, here in America, if you look a certain way, people consider you Black, right?
And she's already been catching it as other Black people catch it in the political arena in this country. See, I've seen memes, from conservative saying Joe and the Ho 2020. Mm-hmm. And I saw one where it was, I don't know if either you watch wrestling, but do you remember Kamala, the Ugandan giant?
Kamala. Yeah. No, he was Kamala.
He was Kamala, the
Right.
Ugandan giant. You see, Joe Biden and Kamala, the Ugandan giant, who had a bone in his nose, by the way, which is a whole nother. We could talk about racism in wrestling, but that's a whole nother subject. But the fact is, Kamala gets treated like every other Black person in politics gets treated, just like Maxine gets treated, just like
happy birthday, Maxine Waters, today.
Oh, today's okay.
Today's her birthday. Happy birthday.
No
she
doubt.
shares birthday with my mother, so I know, August 16th.
Oh man, happy birthday to Demetrius's mom, yo.
Yes, happy birthday.
I'm handling, yeah.
But Kamala gets treated like other Black people. So it's nonsensical to try. I mean, colorism is played out anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Tell that to Facebook, Twitter, and IG.
Right. And we really need to get away from that. That doesn't serve us in any capacity. Colorism, that's so played out. This COVID-19 does not care who's light-skinned and who ain't. You know what I'm saying?
And it really shouldn't matter. It shouldn't matter what color she is. They talk about who she's married to. I'm like, well, if you're going to talk about her, you have to talk about a lot of people in this country, Black women married to different types of folks. You have to talk about a lot of people in this country if you're talking about who's really Black or not. You probably have to talk about some people in your own family. We are all mixed up here. There's nothing pure about any of us here. So I mean, right. you're digging deep to start talking about what is Black, what makes Black, who married who. I mean, one of my posts was like, y'all are worried about the wrong things in this country. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Right. And you're worried about who is Black enough, or who married a Caucasian, or who did this, or who locked people. Guess what? I tell people all the time, I would have locked some of y'all's asses up if I was district attorney.
She locked
It's
up
my-
criminals. That's her job.
It's
But like
my
that's
job.
the job.
It's my job.
Like what is she supposed to do? Like, nah, bro, you good? Go on,
You
go on.
good.
It's cool.
Give his weed back. Give his
they
weed back.
are-
He gonna sell that when he get done. Yeah, he good.
Dude, and I don't want to get too local. I know you're not here, but look, like the mayor of Chicago just went bananas on the state's attorney the other day. Like she just threw Kim Fox so far under the bus during that press conference.
I think I saw that.
Saying,
I missed it.
oh, you meant no, in that press conference, I guess that was Monday after everything happened here in Chicago. She got up there and said, well, look, half of them people that looted today were the same people who got arrested for looting in March. And then if they had still been in prison for what they did, we wouldn't have had this situation.
Wow.
So I called upon State's Attorney Kim Fox to get up and do something about this. Make sure, put your best people on it and throw it like, but then Kim Fox got on there and she came out with her version of Super Ugly, came out later that day and was like, well, look, if we didn't have to deal with Laquan McDonald and Mike Brown and Eric Garner and all these things, I could possibly get convictions on some of these people.
Wow.
It really wasn't a good look either way.
But either way, we're not supposed to do that. That's a phone call.
You got two powerful
That's a
black
phone
women
call. That's a phone call.
In positions where they're looking shaky. You know, Kim Fox looking shaky because of the justice situation. And Lightfoot looks shaky because they trying to send troops to the city. And you telling them, no, we don't want them. We're not going to accept them. And I'm not saying she should, but all I'm saying is it was not a good look for them, these two black women, to go at one another like that.
That's crazy. But yeah, that's the crazy stuff you're hearing about, Kamala, about her record as AG and district attorney and about, if she's black enough or why did she marry this person? I mean, and we have so many bigger things to worry about, not only just in this country, but as a people in general. There's so much going on that we should be more focused on. And it's really exhausting that you have people, saying they're not going to vote or they're going to write in Bernie or they're going to vote for Kanye or, it's my vote doesn't count. And I asked these same people, I said, what about, your grandparents? What about your children you have in school? What about your teenage, son and daughter that are in school? What about people that are you really have to stop and think outside of yourself, because we can all be comfortable. Kevin, you have a professional career, Demetrius, I do, other people that have been on the panel today. But what about the people who don't have it that easy, who may be laid off work or out of work for the pandemic, who may be working, 2 or 3 minimum wage jobs, people that are struggling for health care, people that are struggling just to get their kids to school safely, people on Social Security, disability. I can go on and on of all the issues that we have to worry about, that we should be worried about, because Republicans will cut all of that. I don't care who you like on the Democratic ticket. I don't care who you wish would have made it. But there are so many social and local issues in every single city and state that we should be more worried about than who's running for vice president and what their background is.
And who's black enough, right?
Yeah, if they're black, white, whoever. I mean, I really tell people to stop and think about what they're saying when they say they're not going to vote and do these things because of whatever reason. There's so many people that need help. And to me, I tell them all the time, it shows your privilege, not just privilege as a white person, but you must be very privileged and lucky, even as an African-American or another person of color, to say that you're going to hold your vote, that you're going to write in somebody because your candidate didn't make the cut. Your life and the life of all your friends and family must be perfect, because people's lives are literally on the line right now. People's lives, their livelihoods, their jobs are literally in the balance with this election. And you have to think about not just your situation, but the people around here. I remember when I first came to Ohio State, it made sense to me. When I first opened my student handbook, the first 3 pages or so, it said, we here at The Ohio State University provide quality healthcare for our students so they can succeed. You cannot succeed as a student if you are not healthy. You cannot perform well if you are not healthy. You cannot take part in the student body and have a good collegiate life if you are not healthy, which is why we provide you with this, it was really good healthcare, excellent health coverage here at Ohio State. And that was like in 96 or something. And I thought to myself then, if this university understands that a healthy student is a good, prosperous student that can then go and contribute to society, why doesn't this country understand that? You must be healthy. You must have your basic needs met. And right now, there are so many people in this country who do not have adequate health care, adequate jobs, adequate housing, adequate food on their table. And we are worried about if Kamala Harris is Black enough.
But you know what? You know what's funny? You say just what based on what you're saying is that many of the people who are, 45's most ardent supporters don't have those things together.
Exactly.
Right.
Right.
I was watching Bill Maher's show. This was a couple years ago, maybe 2 or 3, maybe because Trump was in office, and they were talking to people from my mother's hometown, Vicksburg, Mississippi, which is like kind of a suburban working class town in central Mississippi. Like people are not, for the most part, aren't wealthy there. So they went to different working class white people and they said, do you support this? It was related to the Affordable Care Act, and I think they were trying to get it repealed or replaced or something, but it was Trump. We don't want handouts and we don't have this, and we want to work for what we get, even though they were on food stamps. And I mean, what the Republicans have been able to do, and this is not me, I'm not praising them. I'm just acknowledging that they are very good at crafting a narrative.
They're savvy.
Right.
Even if the narrative completely goes against the people they're actually speaking to, but they got someone on fixed, public assistance in central Mississippi telling the government that they don't want help to get out of that situation. It was a lady when Trump ran the first time, I saw from SEIU, the union, who said, I voted for Trump because Trump is for the working person. So she voted for the union-busting, Republican, rich billionaire person from New York over the Democrat candidate. However you may feel about Hillary, she's still a Democrat. Yeah. How does this happen?
They will vote against their own. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Their
go
own
ahead.
self-interest. No, you're right. They vote against their own self-interest. It has to do with the narrative. Believe it or not, during the last year of President Obama's presidency, there was actually an order amongst federal employees to not refer to the Affordable Care Act as anything but the Affordable Care Act, because the term Obamacare was a way to try to make it a narrative that it was something bad by calling it Obamacare. And there are a lot of people who got embarrassed by this quickly, so you didn't see it, but there are a lot of people who would honestly say, I don't support Obamacare. I've got the Affordable Care Act, because they did not understand that's what the Affordable Care Act is.
Right, it is literally the same thing.
It's the same thing.
But it was narrative in it. And if we're going to create a narrative and call it something, because it's really not, Love Barack Obama was not his plan. It was it's Romney Care, because it's actually Mitt Romney's health care plan.
From Boston, Massachusetts.
Right, Massachusetts. It's Romney Care. But that was them again controlling the narrative. And so it was actually, if you worked for the federal government during that time, you couldn't call it Obamacare. You had to call it the Affordable Care Act, because they understood that the reasoning for it was an attempt to make it bad or try to create a negative narrative associated with it. And yes, Republicans have been very good at that.
Yeah, they're very savvy.
If you get the bottom third of the states in education are the ones who are voting for continuous Republican on local and national elections, who give no money toward education. Your state's ranked 39th, 45th. Louisiana, Mississippi,
Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia.
Alabama. While I'm down there, yeah, all that. But you're voting against your own self-interest.
Right.
They
Look
do.
at some of these states, and I'll let you go, jump right in, Michelle. But look at some of these states where there's this 14-day quarantine coming from these states because they've so mishandled this pandemic. These are Trump strongholds, all of them. There's not one state in that other than maybe California where it was initially a big problem. But some of these newer states where it's now a huge problem, these are all Trump strongholds.
Understand, California is a bigger problem because it's a lot of Northern California, which is highly Republican, highly Trump-oriented. We think California, we might think LA and in certain areas, LA, San Francisco, Oakland, but there's a whole lot of California north of that
And Orange
not
County,
that blue.
South.
Orange County, right. And if you go to Orange County, if you go down there, that's not that blue. It's quite red. That has a strong Republican bent to it.
Well, I will tell you, from my small hometown, and that's why I tell people all the time, do not think of Black folks as monolithic. I think that presidential candidates, I think that people running for local and state politics should really travel their states. Presidential candidates should really travel different parts of the country and really see how people are living, really understand the cultural diversity in different states and different cities and counties. Because people in my little hometown, Black folks like me, were mainly Republican. And they were Republican, and the same with my stepfather, who's from a small town in North Carolina. A lot of his folks were mainly Republican because it's what the narrative states in those small towns and counties, right? It's the news they get. It's what the majority, of course, is white, predominantly white in these small towns and counties. So they are pushing a narrative, not to take handouts, to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. If you work hard enough, you'll make it, even though they never make it. After 30, 40 years, they still where they were. But this is the narrative that is pushed, right? And it took Obama getting in office for people in my little small town, Black folks, to start saying, well, maybe we'll vote Democrat. Maybe we'll vote Democrat. And it's taken Trump doing tremendous harm in this country for them to start saying, oh, maybe he's bad after all. Maybe he's not so good. Because my grandmother even used to listen to Rush Limbaugh, but the good thing is she would also listen to Joe Madison, the Black Eagle. So she would compare the two, and she quit listening to Limbaugh when he started talking crazy about Obama. Then she cut him off. But when you're from a small town, that's what they're getting. They're getting the Rush Limbaugh radio. They're getting the narrative that, you should vote Republican because Democrats just want to give everything to everybody and nobody wants to work for what they need. And you down here are hardworking people and we support the hardworking people that are the backbone of America. So that's what they get pushed. And it's taken a long time for the people in my small town to start looking at this and saying, no, this is not what we want. These people are not, holding up to their end of the bargain. I mean, think about what Trump said, that a lot of people, because my little town is right across the river from West Virginia, like 5 minutes. So a lot of people worked at power plants. They worked still the coal mines and things like that. And they were waiting for these jobs to come back. Like Trump said, oh, we're going to bring coal mining back. We're going to bring these type jobs back. And
they still waiting.
They still waiting.
Right.
So now they're like, oh, wait a minute. He didn't live up to his promise. So people in, the foothills, Appalachia and stuff are now starting to say, wait a minute. He didn't bring these jobs back. We're still struggling here. Maybe we need to, think about things differently. But the narrative that's always been pushed down there, and even my grandmother, but my grandmother had a different reason for not liking social services. She always said, you have to try to learn to make it on your own because you never know when they're going to take this stuff away from you. Right. Which could be true, right? It could just all go away. But you have to think about what's going on in these small towns and what's being pushed to them, what they're watching, what they're listening to, what the majority is saying to them, because as Blacks in small towns, we are definitely the minority, more so than everywhere else. So they're falling into that trap of believing, what's being told to them by radio, by TV, by their friends and family that they work with, that, hey, you need to vote Republican. You need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You need to work it out on your own no matter what. The Democrats are liars. They want to give everything to everybody. It's going to raise your taxes, blah, blah, blah. So I think people really need to start taking a look at this country and the people that are in it and where they are, and understand that we are not monolithic as Black folks. People are very dependent on where they come from, which region they are, how they're going to vote. Right now, I have some people down there that are like, oh, I don't know about Kamala. And they got every excuse in the world about why they don't like Kamala, but none of it is really factual because they're hearing this stuff from Fox News, you know? So we really have to think about that as well when we're thinking about, who we're voting for and why people vote the way they do. And like Demetrius said, the narrative that's being spread and people voting against self-interest is like a constant, it seems, in those places.
Last question. I appreciate you guys for staying after. Just real quick, do you think Joe and Kamala will beat 45 and Mike Pence in November?
Yes. Yes, it will be the first time since 1992 that an incumbent president hasn't won. But yes, they're going to win. And I really don't even think it's going to be that close. I really don't. I think there's a lot of Republicans who are looking, and like you say, where are those coal mining jobs we were promised? Where are these things they were promised? And if it's the working man that President Obama was able to get when he was elected, that Trump was able to fool, vote for him, and that he's been elected, that I think is going to go back to Joe. I think that's the strength he has, he could bring in, is that my dad was the hardworking guy from Scranton, Pennsylvania. And there, one thing I thought, and that thing is going to be capped on quickly, there are 4 major people running. Only one of them has an Ivy League degree. Can you guess which of the 4 has the Ivy League degree? It's the current president.
Mm-hmm.
He's the only of the 4 who has an Ivy League degree.
Yeah, you have Penn, right?
Right.
He
Wharton.
went to Wharton. He went to Wharton's
School.
Penn. That's Penn.
Yeah,
That's Penn. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Penn. Yeah, Wharton's the Penn's graduate. He's the only one with an Ivy League degree. So that the narrative of being for every man, I think it's another soft spot that those Democrats can hit on and say, no, we went to regular schools and regular college. We're that working class people coming up.
Yeah, they're the ones that pulled themselves up literally by their bootstraps. Yeah, they weren't given anything, either of those.
I think it's yes, and I'm praying it's not even close.
Well, I would have to say I'm a bit concerned. I am hopeful, but concerned, only because, as I've mentioned previously, the Republicans have so many tricks up their sleeves. We see what they're doing with the post office. We see what they're doing with gerrymandering and closing down polls in different places. And I'm just hoping, like I said, that enough of us get out here and vote, put all of our own personal preferences and things aside, and just everyone just get out here and vote from every culture, every religion, every race, creed, color. All of us get out here and do what needs to be done to get 45 out of office. So I'm hopeful, but I'm still very cautious just because I see what's going on around me, and I see the tricks that they're trying to pull already, setting up stuff where it looks like, the election, it might be, a fraud due to mail-in ballots and taking away the Postal Service overtime and taking away the sorting machines from post offices, removing mailboxes.
Like literally crippling the post office. So
And I say we just got to get out here. If you have it where it's both mail in and, vote in person, if you got to go stand in line with your Lysol and your mask and gloves, everything. Right. I mean, I can say here in Columbus when we did the primary They had, sanitation areas set up, only let so many people in. They had disinfectant going around. So they were very good during the primary. So I'm hopeful that they will do the same, during the general election.
Right.
But I think we just have to be very vigilant and make sure that, we're watching what's going down so this election doesn't get stolen. But like I said at the beginning, I'm very excited about this ticket. Like I said, it's the first time I actually feel a bit represented as a woman of color. So I'm hoping for the best, but I'm watching to see how things are playing out.
No doubt. Demetrius, Miche, thank you so much for sticking around for the second conversation. I'm Kevin Smith. This is Think Tank 309. Of course, if you have any comments for any of us regarding the comments you heard today, send us a message on social media just with the hashtag Think Tank 309, no matter what platform. We'll be sure to get it. Again, Demetrius, Miche, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
This is not Area 309. This is Think Tank 309.
You're more than welcome. Loving it.
All right. Bye, guys.
Peace.
Have a good rest of the day.